Hello and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I am your host, John Harris, and today on the Rock Metal Podcast, we have Immortal Guardian. They have a new album called Psychosomatic, which was released on February 12th of this year. I'm just going to say 2021 because, Gabriel, it feels so good to say 2021.
Yes, feels good to finally put 2020 in the past. You know, since it was like a movie that none of us wanted to watch, but we already paid the theater price, so we just had to sit there and just take it.
And so the album will be releasing February 12th, 2021 via M Theory Audio, which is also exciting stuff because they're a newer label, I believe. And I have had a couple of artists from M Theory Audio, but it seemed like they were a little quiet for a little while. So glad to hear another artist from M Theory on the show. And so right now we're being joined by Gabriel. And Gabriel is going to be giving us some information about what Immortal Guardian has got coming down the pipeline. So Gabriel, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me, man. This is super awesome.
Yeah. Well, I like what's going on with your wall. That's super awesome.
Oh, yeah, thanks, man. You know, it's got a little polka dotted tiles, you know, gives it a cool background for all these Zoom calls we had to do this year. You know, at one point everybody is doing this, the whole FaceTime Zoom call thing, and it even gave us an idea to make a music video out of it, and we were having a lot of fun with that on the last single. I don't know if you got to check that one out, but
I did, and that leads me into a stellar question, which is, because I believe it was a track called Lockdown, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So take us through that track, because in my mind, I think as an artist, it would kind of be cool, but kind of not cool to write a song about being in lockdown and having Zoom calls, but you guys did it and you made it look really cool. So take us through that. How did you guys did that?
So the idea here was our drummer, he lives in Montreal, Canada. Carlos, in the beginning of the pandemic, was in Brazil. He made it back to Vegas, luckily. But and our bassist lives in Texas, and I live in Las Vegas. So we're kind of like all over the place. So the idea of getting in the same room to make an album or shoot music videos or whatever is just not a thing, even regularly, but even more so with COVID. So as we started like making this record and coming up with ideas for music videos, it was like, what the hell are we going to do since we can't meet up? So the first idea was, well, okay, why don't we just shoot a bunch of videos where we're like apart, but we'll get creative with why we're apart, So the first one, we were like in a newspaper for Read Between the Lines, and then in the second one, I think we were having a band meeting on Zoom talking about what the idea should be, and I was like, why don't we just do this? Yeah. I was like, I had seen a Saturday Night Live skit, and they had made fun of people that are using Zoom for the first time. And I was like, this is genius. Like at this point, everybody has used this software that if we made a video with it, I think everybody would be like, hey, it's the thing that we all used, Yeah. And then as far as Lockdown goes, not just Lockdown itself, but the entire record is written about all the events that were happening this year. So as we were sitting on our couches at home watching this catastrophic events, we were writing songs for each one, and Lockdown's it's like the second or third track, and it kind of goes in order of what's happening too in the world. So like Lockdown is like, I think the third track, and exactly what it is, just the shock of, oh crap, we're going into a lockdown. And we started the quote with the guy from the World Health Organization, pretty much saying you can't lock down and unlock down and go back to lockdown, and like you just can't do that. It's not the way forward, and that's what we truly believe too. It's like either you do it for good or you don't do it at all, because we're just so many businesses and stuff gone under.
Yeah, without a joke.
Yeah, the song questions a lot about the same questions we all have, like where did the virus come from? How did this happen? Is the virus causing more damage than it is, more saving lives, and stuff like that. So that's what Lockdown was about.
Okay. So now I have the track list up in front of me, so that, as you mentioned, it goes through 2020. I now have the track listing here. Kind of like maybe another interesting question I have is, then did you guys have music already and you're looking for lyrics and you thought, well, this year is giving us some lyrics, or was this not happening at all until like 2020 happened? I'm just kind of curious how everybody got together from different locales and created an album about 2020.
Yeah, what's really insane is at the beginning of this year we already had another record already completed. We finished a new album. And we were getting ready to put it out this year, and we were getting ready to tour a bunch and then put out the record. So that was the plan. Like, okay, we'll tour this last album, then do the new one, and then the COVID hit. We had this feeling. And it's funny because like I know we're not the only ones. I saw Netflix was doing it too, but they were essentially saying like, due to the state of the world, we're not going to put out this show right now. We're just going to wait a little bit. You know, there was just like a lot of rescheduling of things because when we made that record, we had it with the world was in a certain mindset, a certain way, and then to release, it's like releasing a Christmas song in July. It's a good song, but it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, why are you doing that? Like, right. It's not the appropriate time. So while we were sitting home and watching all our tours get canceled, it was one of those like, well, what else are we going to do, guys? Let's just write a record. And I didn't think we were going to do it so fast, but because we had so much free time from not touring and having no gigs at all, and even side work, a lot of us work in the music industry and other things, you know, but like when I'm not playing guitar, I'm usually running lights or lasers and stuff for other people. But even that was slashed. So
right.
Sitting here with all this time, we made this record, and the music, the lyrics, everything was written this year. I would say maybe there was like one song that was from the last record that we brought over, but almost all of it was written starting like April or something like that.
All right. Some breadcrumbs. So there's one track of breadcrumbs then.
Yeah. And it felt like, okay, that song still makes sense. It would make sense in today's world. And that song was Find a Reason.
Okay.
And Find a Reason is essentially it's like an anti-suicidal song. It's just about someone trying to find a reason to live and, you know, continue, you know, keep on keeping on through this crazy struggle. And it just talks about like, this is a really sad character, like, you know, would anyone ever notice if I was gone kind of thing, but maybe they would. And, you know, it's a really dark song, but we felt a lot of these songs, the emotions that they talk about and what they're expressing is something that almost everybody at one point felt during this year, whether it was, you know, some kinds of new depression, phobia. That's what that song's about. It's about, you know, having these new phobias that we've never experienced. One being now when you see a crowd of people with no mask, like all of a sudden you get uncomfortable, where like in the past that was just a normal thing, you know, like that to me is super crazy. Like now we see certain things and it freaks us out, you know, and it only took a few months to have this new like kind of phobias. And then Clocks talks about just this insane time that like, you know, 2020 felt like an eternity. Time is just moving so slow. Mm-hmm. Everything's just kind of on a wait. We're in this like weird prison sentence that never ends, you know. And read between the lines, as you may know, we did that one in the newspaper because we saw so much misinformation in the beginning of the pandemic that we were like, you know, I remember Carlos sending me articles. Dude, this guy says that we shouldn't do this and this and that because of COVID. I was like, well, this article says the exact opposite.
Right.
And they both came from reputable sources and this and that. And then we were just tripping, like watching the news, like how are such big mainstream medias like so contradicting each other? Like there's no like, common story. So we had to write a song about that. And then what was the other one? Psychosomatic. The main theme of the reason we chose to name the album that after that song was pretty much if there was anything that we were noticing, and especially during April and May when this thing was barely unfolding and everyone didn't really know what the COVID was yet, I felt so many people just from conversations were telling me like, I think I'm sick, man. I think I'm sick and I think I got it. And almost everybody I knew at one point had symptoms and then it turns out they never had it. And it's almost kind of like it's like that thing they say, like, you spook yourself out enough or you're stressed out enough, you can make yourself sick, you know. Mm-hmm. And it's not to take anything away from the seriousness of COVID. You know, we've had family members that passed away from COVID, and my father was in the hospital for COVID, and luckily he beat it. But this is just talking more about like how you know, I think the psychosomatic effect that's happening is even greater than COVID. There's more people that don't have COVID than have it.
Right.
That probably more freaked out about it, you know, and we just thought that was just such a crazy concept. So we had to double down and write an album about it, you know, like, man, isn't it crazy how like there are some people getting sick, but there's a lot more people getting sick from something that they're not sick of yet. It's just fear, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, crazy stuff.
Very crazy stuff. Yeah. I mean, for a while, anybody here in Alberta could get a coronavirus test, and they initially had said, Alberta Health Services had said, you know, please get a test, be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Know that you have it or that you don't have it, kind of thing. And so, like, once a month when I went back to work, I did that just to make sure. And then the system just got had too much in it, and they had to stop and say, you know, only if you like, know that you have it, then you can come take a test to confirm that you know you have it or whatever. But apparently there were hypochondriacs who were coming in and you know, getting 9 tests in a week, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
that's I believe it too, man. I mean, with toilet paper wiping off the shelves, you know, I could see people like getting like 10 tests, like no problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and I also remember toilet paper being off the shelf, but then the Kleenex was full right next to it. You know, and the paper towel was full right next to it. Like, like toilet paper, such a single use item, you couldn't use that to do anything else, or, you know, Kleenex. Yeah. It's tremendous, you know?
That was very weird. It was weird how, like, and it was great that, like, before I buy things in bulk anyways. So right before the pandemic, you know, we had our typical water and toilet paper and stuff. So, like, all my friends that always laugh at me for buying in bulk, or like, dude, why you always have, like, I have those big 5-gallon things. So why you got 20 of those 5-gallon things all the time? The pandemic kid, I was like, who's laughing now?
That's right. Not Gabriel. Gabriel doesn't laugh at that kind of thing. Beautiful. Okay. Now, this seems to be mostly, I'm guessing then, to do with the virus. There were a lot of other things that happened in 2020, especially down in the States. Does the album cover anything else, like political-wise, police brutality-wise?
I feel that I don't want to give too much away, but the record that we were writing was pretty much a lot of that. Okay. So we're almost kind of saving some of those themes for the next one to kind of keep the common, you know, the political and the craziness that, like, because we're Americans, we're like, oh, you know, how many people are really going to relate to this, you know, besides Americans, you know? Yeah. But it's been a fucking shit show for the last I don't even know how long. It's been quite a show for a while. So we definitely wrote songs about that. That has its own category and not just one, but multiple songs. So we'll probably be seeing more about that in the next record. But in this record, we definitely focus more on the international chaos of the virus and mainly the emotions that the virus brought. Almost every song is kind of touching like some kind of fear, panic, or sadness, or the passing or something, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, something you mentioned in the beginning there was, I think it was Find a Reason. Here in Canada alone, suicide is up 60%. Yeah, same. I don't know what the statistic is, but in America, it's insane. It's gone up a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, I personally have a friend who passed away that way this year or last year, and it doesn't. And that's the thing is, all these things are just numbers, they're just statistics, right? And then once you know somebody that does it, or you see somebody that has COVID or whatever, like, these numbers get really real, and then the reality is like, oh shit, and then you write an album. And that's what it sounds like, you know. Like, I would say definitely this record was a lot more serious than the past ones, and the way we wrote the lyrics, you know. It just kind of, we didn't have to like think hard about like, well, what kind of thing are we gonna try to put in the It was just like, oh my God, this is what's happening to the world. Just write it down, you know. And it just, the flow was natural. The music came natural. The music matching the emotions of the lyrics and stuff. So that was quite fun to do. While, like, now I look back at it, I'm laughing, but then it was like my brain was totally not there, you know, like trying to put together a record while the world's falling apart. Yeah. Well, the good news is that it ended at midnight and nothing from last year is continuing, right? So, you know, you can You can take a vacation from it for a
That's
little
home
bit.
base. 2021's home base.
Yeah, exactly. It's home base. Nothing's happening. It's going to be okay. Perfect. Now, something else I noticed here is the cover art was done by Natalia.
Yes. Super awesome.
Yeah, and she's definitely got a track record here, like Darkmoor, Alma, Secret Sphere. Tell us about the production team on this record. How did you guys record it at your home studios and then send it to like a central?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So what was cool was on this record, our producer Josh Lopez became the bass player of the band. So like he joined the band this year. He did our last record, so he did our last one and the unreleased one, the one that we scrapped. So this is technically his like third record with us. So like he's already got like a formula on like how he tracks everything and how he mics it and whatever. So it was really awesome. The only catch was not being able to be all in the same studio. So like we had our drummer, he went to his buddy's studio in Montreal, and then they sent us the tracks, and then Zima and I recorded in Vegas, and then I drove to Texas with a hard drive, and then I recorded my parts in Texas with Josh, and it was a lot of crazy stuff that like there's so much stuff that could have happened in 3 seconds that took us 30 minutes, like when you're in a room with somebody, you can tell the guy, I needed to go dun 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 dun, not da 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 dun da 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 dun. Oh yeah, I got you.
Right.
Now I have to put that into an email or whatever and send it. And I was telling Josh, like, man, imagine how funny it would be if like people were to see like the hundreds and hundreds of Facebook messages that we send each other. Like, no, I need to go da 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 da. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You can put together the whole album that way.
Yeah. How do you write out triplet formations in Facebook messages? Is there a secret art to that? Did you figure that out?
Oh man, a lot of it is letting one person kind of have the creative freedom, and then everyone kind of copies them.
Right. Perfect.
When it comes to rhythms, it's typically the drummer. He'll do something, and I'm like, that's not what I was thinking, but that's cool. Let's do that.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, that'll work. There's a lot of that. A lot of. You just kind of like, that's cool because it's going to take us 20 hours to just do something that's pretty damn similar,
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But the person I probably spend the most time with, I would say, is Carlos. Like, I have to be in the room with him. Like, we work so much on, getting the vocals and the enunciations and the harmonies. Like, he does a lot of choirs, so we got to do, like, layers and layers and write it out with the MIDI piano and, yeah, I really like. I love doing the vocals. Good times. It's like the message.
One man choirs are always an interesting thing. Obviously, a lot of bands do it, but there's sometimes it can be kind of weird stacking up that many, of one voice and still trying to make it sound like a choir. How did you guys tackle that? Was the intent to truly make it sound like a choir, or was it?
But we've been doing this since the first EP. Like, it's just kind of like our little signature sound. Like, I love Queen and their choirs. I love Boston. A lot of these classic rock bands where like the lead singer would just do this massive wall of harmonies, but he do a lot of the falsetto stuff, so it sounds like like a full actual choir. And we did a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody back in the day as Immortal Guardian, and my buddy Roy gave me the stems to the actual Queen session, so I got to hear like every piece. And I remember the first time I ever heard Bohemian Rhapsody like broken down into pieces, I was like, oh my god, like that's amazing. Number one, and number two, that's how they do it.
Yep.
So we kind of started implementing those kind of Queen harmonies in Revolution Part 1, and then we just got better at it. And I started taking some training on how to like do like proper voicings and all that, and like theory lessons and stuff. And yeah, man, it was awesome, like to kind of see the transformation went from just being this big epic choir to now just being like this gospel warm sounding. He makes these really cool chords. It's gone more from like epic metal to like now Queen Muse kind of vibe. We got this like wall of voices, and we used to do like 40 voices back in the day, and that was a pain in the ass, dude. We used to do 5 no, 8 voices per note. So there'd be like 5 notes. So there'd be like 8 per, and it's insane. So the last record we put like 25, and then the next one we put like 15, and we're just getting smaller. So it's so much easier. But I think for this record we did like 25. We did like half of that. It was like 20, 25, and it sounds massive, you know.
Yeah, yeah, very cool stuff. Yeah, we could spend days going into things we've heard over the years, like Def Leppard. They did like at least 4 tracks per note, and then would have like 4-part harmonies. And, you know, just trying to think about syncing all of this up on tape back then.
Oh, Jesus. I can't imagine.
And, yeah, I've also heard the tracks you mentioned from Queen. I downloaded those stems. There's a few out there that are cool to hear, like Billie Jean by Michael Jackson's out there.
Oh, my God. So good. I've heard that one.
Yeah. And, like, wow, that little kicka sound is in there. I had no idea, you know, like just the way the little things that make up the track. So, and then I just heard a chat with Devin Townsend, who does a lot of vocal choirs. And so on his last album, Empath, he was saying that he actually hired a women's choir in Vancouver, and then he blended that with his voice because in his own mind, he was just tired of hearing himself, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's great. Wow.
But just because I just heard that and you mentioned a vocal choir, I was just curious, you know, how did you guys approach the vocal choir?
Yeah. Eventually, I'd love to have, you know, like a full men, women, children, just big, like community voice sounding like the sound, you know, but budgets and stuff. And Zima he's got such a crazy range. Like we can, you know, do it all right now. But he did a performance with a metal orchestra back in March. And there was a choir there, and that was freaking epic. I was like, we got to do that on the next record, man. You know, so that's the idea.
Now, I guess one last question that I have then is, you know, typically you release a record, you go on tour, but that's not going to be happening anytime soon. So I guess what is the plan for Immortal Guardian now that it's, you know, beginning of 2021?
Yeah. Well, obviously we're trying to tour. We're trying to reschedule the tour again, you know, just because like we just, you know, we have to, and we're kind of the whole world is at the mercy of COVID. But I told the guys this, you know, at the beginning of the year, I was like, let's go with the impression that COVID doesn't leave this year. Let's just pretend that the world stays the way it does. What are we going to do? Keep making music. So the idea is we're trying to like almost like shoot a video for every song just because we kind of have the time for it, you know?
Yeah. So
we've already shot like, I think maybe 5-6 videos for this album. So it's like almost all of them. And we usually only shoot like a few, but we got playthroughs and lyric videos and live videos and band videos and tutorials and you name it. So we're focusing more on the online thing, just like everybody else is. You know, there's really nothing else you can do besides sit at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and come on to the Rock Metal Podcast.
Yeah.
Beautiful, baby. All right. Well, that concludes my questions. Is there anything that you wanted to chat about, Gabriel, that I did not bring up?
No, just that the record's coming out, you know. Keep an eye out for it on February 12th. It's coming out in about a month. And if you see COVID start going away, you could expect us to see us in your town probably this fall. If not, hopefully soon. But we will be on tour with Power Glove here in North America, so we should be going through Edmonton and all that good stuff.
Okay, and when you boys do, and you're at the Starlight, they should still be alive. I think. I hope.
Yeah.
Because in Edmonton, we really only have a couple of venues for metal bands to play at.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're big enough to sell out a stadium, but most metal bands coming through Edmonton they don't. So Starlight can actually hold quite a bit.
Yeah, it's great.
Or their side venue. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but they have a side venue for smaller shows. And then there is Rendezvous Pub, but I would not be surprised if Rendezvous doesn't make it through.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Because I don't know what else they would be doing right now.
I was just looking at the list of clubs we're supposed to play, and so many of them are gone, man. It's super sad.
Yeah.
But hopefully these governments pump some money into the arts cultures and help these venues out. You know, they did that in America recently, so hope Canada's get something like that too.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't doubt it. And besides, the Guardian is immortal. Beautiful. Well, then thank you so much for coming on to the Rock Metal Podcast today, Gabriel.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me, John. And I hope to see you soon, dude. See you in Canada.
Mm-hmm.